Let's now begin this broadcast with some big news developments coming in from Pakistan. The country's National Security Council has approved Pakistan's first ever national security policy, and the same now will be tabled before the Federal Cabinet on Tuesday. According to reports, a new policy will cover all internal and external security aspects, including the situation in Afghanistan and its ramifications in the region. The high-stakes NSE meeting summoned by the Prime Minister Imran Khan was attended by Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid, the Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry, National Security Advisor Mueed Yusuf, and other key government and military officials in Islamabad. The NSE happens to be Pakistan's highest forum for coordination on security matters. The policy presented by Pakistan's NSA highlighted that the ultimate purpose of this national security policy was to ensure the safety, security, and dignity of its citizens, making economic security of the core of this new policy. It said further that a stronger economy would then create additional resources that would judicially distribute to further bolster military and human security. During the high-level meeting, Prime Minister Imran Khan emphasized that the security of Pakistan rests in the security of its citizens and reposed confidence that Pakistan is well prepared to meet any internal and external threats, terming the formulation and approval a historic moment in the country. The Prime Minister said that the policy must guide all organs of the government to ensure that their efforts are synchronized with the overall direction. The Prime Minister also instructed the National Security Advisor to present an implementation progress report to the NSE every month. For more on this story, our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik now joins us live on this broadcast from Karachi. Thanks, Anas, for joining us. As we discussed earlier, this is Pakistan's first ever national security policy. What are the big highlights of the same?
Absolutely, Priyanka, you rightly mentioned this is a first in Pakistan's history. It took about 7 years for this policy to formulate, for this policy to be agreed upon in form of a document by all the stakeholders, and today it was presented before the National Security Committee, where it was formally approved by all of the stakeholders. That includes the civilians and the military side. Now it is being dubbed as, quote unquote, as a citizen-centric policy, which has an ultimate purpose to ensure, quote, safety, security and dignity of the citizens of Pakistan. And this is what the government is claiming would be done through this policy. This policy has a focus on economic security in the wake of, or in the backdrop of the China-Pakistan economic corridor that focuses on economic development of the country. The economic security bit having a specific mention is indeed quite significant. But what is to be noted is the fact that it took them about 7 years. This initiative was not initiated by this government, but rather the previous government, the PMLN government. And after 7 years, they've agreed on a document. It will now be tabled before the Pakistani cabinet on coming Tuesday. That is tomorrow. After which it will be tabled. It will be formulated into a formal bill. Priyanka.
Right. Now, Anas, let's talk about the background of this story as of now. Pakistan is currently in the midst of a massive economic crisis. Relations with Afghanistan are also quite strained. So how will this new national security policy counter the same?
Well, it's not just Afghanistan. This policy focuses on relations with other countries as well, including India being at the highlight of it or at the helm of it. So they've come up with mechanisms, with these working groups, which will be agenda-based or specific working groups, which would be focusing on giving their recommendations to the National Security Committee and then coming up with policies as and when the time calls for. So that is probably one of the key highlights of this document as well, which says that focus groups is to be formulated as and when it calls for. That includes on India, that includes on Afghanistan, it includes on Iran as well, and of course on China and West Asia and other regions as well. So this policy basically goes on to designate titles or jobs for specific working groups so that they can come up with their recommendations so that the government or the state can deal with challenges in a better manner, in a far more efficient manner, as and when they come through. Priyanka?
Absolutely, Anas. Just my final question here. Let's talk about the optics of it all. It also seems that the Prime Minister is trying to assuage citizens by saying that the security of Pakistan rests in the security of its citizens, and also saying that Pakistan is well prepared to meet external and internal threats. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, this is something that the Pakistani side has always maintained, that it is ever ready to deal with internal and external security challenges. In 2018, we saw the NISP, or the National Internal Security Policy, being adopted by that then government, with the then Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi being in power. Now, after that, this adoption is this policy. It's a proper whole document which does not just focuses on internal security, but in fact on external security measures as well. Right. So the Prime Minister going on to reiterate or giving that bolster or putting his weight behind the public is rather a reassuring factor that he believes, or he is trying to gauge his audience, that this is for the well-being of the people of Pakistan. Priyanka?
Anas Malik, our Pakistan Bureau Chief, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and thank you for all those insights. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.